subject of our face-off tonight. And joining me now, the former gay rights senior advisor to President Clinton, Richard Socarides. Good to have you with us, Richard, who says nothing short of full equality is where we ought to be. And the founder and president of the Institute for American Values, David Blankenhorn, who's also the author of The Future of Marriage, who says children need both a mother and a father, and same-sex marriage is bad for society. Good to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
Let me turn first to the issue here, David, of marriage. You don't support the idea of same-sex marriage. Civil unions are all right, just to be clear, in your view?
I think civil unions may be something to think about. My main point is that marriage is an institution that humans everywhere have devised basically to protect children, to kind of ensure that the male and female whose union makes the child are there legally and, there to raise the child. And so my opposition to gay marriage is not opposition to homosexuality, it's not opposition to gay rights, it's opposition to tampering with the meaning of this pro-child institution.
Richard, that's very persuasive.
Well, I think that there's no evidence that children fare any better or any worse with two or even one gay couple. So I think that that's sort of a very sort of old-fashioned traditional notion. But certainly, kids are better off with any one parent. And I think that most of the research and most of the literature suggests now that kids do just fine with same-sex parents.
Is that true?
The literature on same-sex parents is, it's such a recent thing for the scholars to start studying that there isn't much out there. But where I think you may be wrong, Richard, is that there is a huge body of literature going back many decades saying that the optimal environment for a child is to be cared for by the mother and the father. In that mother-father child-raising unit, there's a lot of science in back of that proposition. So when you break that model, either with one-parent home, no-parent homes, or parents that are brought together outside of this marital arrangement, children don't do as well.
Well, I think that we could debate this research, and I'm sure that that there's been a lot of that. But I think what we're really talking about today, and what the Donald once again captures what's on everybody's mind, is where are we headed as a country in terms of this being a basic fairness issue. And I think you see the almost dizzying daily drumbeat of talk and issues about this. We saw the Iowa marriage decision. States all along the Northeast are legalizing same-sex marriage, and there's significant pressure building on our elected officials to really lead people rather than following public opinion. I mean, I think what you saw Mr. Trump doing was saying, look, that this is an opinion shared by a lot of people, but it's really not where we're headed as a country.
David, Richard basically says that you're old-fashioned in your views and that you've got to catch up to to 2009. Is that correct?
Very.
Well, most children are old-fashioned too. They like having the mother and the father, around in that old-fashioned way. So maybe I'm old-fashioned in that way too. We do agree on one thing, however. I think that this thing about Miss California, she said exactly verbatim what the President of the United States said when he was running for the presidency. Right. She said exactly what Hillary Clinton said on many occasions.
Right.
She said what most members of Congress have said.
Joe Biden.
She said what 70% of the American people believe.
Right.
She said what almost all scholars who have ever studied marriage have defined it as. Completely consistently. And yet, here's where I think maybe we could find something to think about together. The dynamic of our elite conversation has shifted so rapidly that when she said something that about 3 minutes ago everybody was saying, including the President of the United States, she's now called out and everybody wants to fuss at her and call her ugly names.
And did.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think she's getting a little bit of a hard time because, you know, people enjoy talking about beauty pageants and it's popular culture
well, Perez Hilton, for example, in the comments he made, I'm sure that you would,
right.
I think the popular word is renounce or
right. And everybody's entitled, Lou, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And no,
that didn't sound like they were renouncing those comments.
Yeah. And, you know, it makes for good pageant television.
Why call her out in a public way like this when she just...
If somebody's going to call somebody out, let me follow up with what David's saying here. Why in the world... if the gay community feels this way, why pick on a 21-year-old? Why not go after the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Secretary of State?
Or go on a national tour.
In other words, why not pick on somebody your own size?
I don't think that she's been unfairly picked on. I mean, I think she puts herself out in this very public way, and I think
whoa.
She answered a question.
Wait a minute. She's got a right to speak her mind.
Absolutely.
You would agree with that?
And everybody's got a right to their opinion.
This 21-year-old woman, perhaps I have a different perspective of this because my daughters happen to be 21, but I wouldn't tolerate this kind of conduct toward them in a minute. And the way in which the national media has behaved, some elements of the gay community have behaved here, I think is absolutely shameful. Now, you were talking about catching up and leading here the American people. There's also a possibility, is there not, that there's some overreaching here as well on the part of those who would go beyond 70% of the American people's viewpoint, the comments, the values, the statements of the presidential leadership, the president, the vice president. What say you?
I basically agree with everything you've said. I mean, I think that you're right, that she's entitled to her view. She should not be made fun of. It's a legitimate view. It's a view held by many of our elected officials. And if people have a beef about it, they ought to go to our leaders, and our leaders ought to be leading public opinion and not following it. And I think that some people who...
I'd just love to see some representation of the majority will in this country from time to time, but that's a different matter.
No. I mean, I think some people who are caught in this... I support civil unions, I support full rights for gays and lesbians, but I don't support marriage, are sort of caught in a trap here around because...
In fairness, though, much of the gay community disagrees on the issue of gay marriage and seek civil unions. I mean, that's not a, if you will, monolithic view on the part of the gay community either.
I think that within the last 3 to 5 years that the gay community pretty much is universal in its support for gay marriage rather than civil unions.
My goodness, universality.
Yes.
And the gay community on an issue.
Universality.
My God, you can, heterosexuals, gays, you can find that anywhere. It's amazing. But going back to Richard's point, David, that perhaps being a bit of a troglodyte and old-fashioned here, why is gay marriage such a threat to heterosexual marriage? When you talk about the institution of marriage, the importance of the family here, the greater threats, as I read, if you gentlemen are going to bring in the literature, as I look at the threats economically, societally, you know, the threats are far more financial, they're economic, media. I mean, we can go through a list of threats to heterosexual marriage in the family unit that has nothing to do with gay marriage.
Well, let's even go further.
No, let's go that far.
We heterosexuals over the last 3 decades have treated marriage in a pretty poor way.
Well,
We've high levels of divorce, out of wedlock childbearing.
That's what I'm saying to you. And the physics of gay marriage affecting heterosexual marriage or the family unit are not exactly what I would call obvious.
Well, when you change in law the ideal that the mother, father, child, that there's something special about the male and the female making the child and being there to raise the child. When you change that in law...
My God, what I'm saying to you is we're watching 1 in every 2 marriages in this country end in divorce. We're watching 2/3 of the children being born out of wedlock, higher amongst certain groups in this country. To worry about gay marriage seems to be, well, focusing on the truly marginal and almost irrelevant when looking at threats to heterosexual marriage.
Listen, I and plenty of other people out there have spent a lot of years working to strengthen marriage, and gay marriage